Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Well, I hate to break it to you, but your spending habits might actually be keeping you broke. So today I'm going to be sharing the 25 things I no longer buy in order to save money and how you can too. Hi, my name's Kenzie. If you don't know me, I'm 23 years old and I'm from Alberta, Canada. I'm currently a psychology undergrad and I'm documenting my process towards becoming a therapist. And I want to share how I balance all things wellness and all my hobbies in my life while I'm achieving that goal. One thing I'm really passionate about is personal finance. So I try to be really mindful of my spending. I also post videos on routines, habits, outdoors, student life and studying, grad school prep, and reading and cozy hobbies. If any of that interests you, please subscribe. Also, I got this new mic, so this is my first time using it, so if the sound is off, let me know. I'm really excited to have this. I think high quality audio really makes a difference. Before I ramble on too much longer, let's get into the 25 things I stopped buying to save money. So these 25 things, they may seem insignificant at first, but just trust me, they do add up, and cutting all of these things out saves me hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Having some financial boundaries and knowing what you are and aren't willing to spend money on will help you develop your own healthy financial mindset. Alright, so let's get into the 25 things I no longer buy or spend money on. So the first thing I no longer spend money on is getting my nails done, and to be specific, acrylic nails. I used to spend close to $100 every 2 to 4 weeks. I love having my nails done, but that is so much money and it is nice to have them. I think I still will get them for maybe bigger events, but for now I'm either keeping them natural or I've been really enjoying press-on nails, which I clearly don't have on right now, but I'm hoping to tonight actually do some new nails. I ordered these dark blue ones from Glamnetic, so these are my next nails I'm going to try. And natural nails are actually really in right now. Not that you have to follow trends, but if that makes you feel a bit better. The next thing I don't spend my money on are, I'm going to call them bougie beauty treatments. So I don't get Botox or fillers. Of course, this is very personal. If you do that, that's fine. But that can be really expensive to keep up with. I'm only 23, so if I did get Botox now, it would be what they call preventative Botox, and I'm not an expert in this area at all. But I feel like that's a scam, because how much money do you have to pay to get it done repeatedly? Does that actually prevent wrinkles? And is there even like a point of preventing them if you have to pay that much money? Why don't you just get Botox when you have the wrinkles? I don't know. I'm clearly uneducated on that topic, but I think ignorance is bliss in this context, I guess. And I think there's something to be said about aging gracefully and naturally if you can. Again, not shaming anyone, but it does get work done, but this definitely saves me a ton of money. Alright, this next thing I do not spend my money on that I definitely used to is just random knickknacks, gadgets. So any of those 5 things you need from Amazon videos, and they're literally just stupid little gadgets. You don't need those. I promise you, if you are functioning okay without this object, I promise you, you do not need it. And it honestly just makes your space so much more cluttered, and it's gonna stress you out. And those little Amazon or Walmart, Target, wherever you go, those little runs to get little knickknacks and things, they add up to be so much money and we don't realize it. So yeah, that's something I try not to buy anymore that I definitely used to. Alright, so this next thing has a bit of a caveat to it. So this is swapping some expensive hair care and skincare for cheaper options. Now, I don't think you have to do this for all your products. Like, I think any active ingredients you put on your face, I think that's totally fine to splurge on something a bit more expensive. Or, you know, if there's like a hair mask or oil that you really love and you find it really benefits your hair. But I think I used to kind of lean into the beauty is an investment type mindset, which I don't disagree with, but I would kind of justify buying really expensive products. So I used to buy really expensive shampoo and conditioner, and I still use a decently expensive hair oil, but it lasts me forever. Now for shampoo and conditioner, I just use like L'Oreal, like sulfate free. And then for skincare, of course, like actives, I still like to keep high quality, but my cleanser and moisturizer, I just use like CeraVe or Cetaphil. And I've made a couple swaps where I'm still using high quality products, but they're just a little bit cheaper. Skincare is something you have to kind of replenish decently often once you run out. I used to use like the Caudalie cleansing oil, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite, but I have in the last like 6 months ish swapped to the Bioderma cleansing oil, and it works great and it's a lot cheaper. And for sunscreen, I used to always buy Supergoop, which I do still love and will purchase occasionally, but La Roche-Posay also has a great sunscreen and it's cheaper. So it just makes that skincare, hair care restock that you're frequently doing a lot cheaper. This next one I think is really popular right now with the whole underconsumption, no by 2025 trend going on, which I think is great, and that's trendy items. I want you to think back on how many trendy items that you bought in the past that have sat at the back of your closet that you've never worn again. Now, we don't really want to be doing that more than we already have, most likely, and it happens. But if it's not something you can see yourself wearing for like 10 years, maybe don't buy it. Fashion cycles move so quickly now. Maybe you get to wear it once or twice before it's already out of style. This next thing I don't spend my money on is Uber Eats or any food delivery service. These services are so expensive. Will eat away at your money. Obviously, like, we all have days where we're not feeling well. If you're sick or something, I totally get that, but it shouldn't be a regular thing. This next one I don't spend money on is vaping and cigarettes. I do want to mention, I know that these are addictive substances, so I know addiction is not a choice, it's a disease. But if you haven't started vaping or smoking and you have friends that do, maybe this is just your warning not to get into it, because it is addictive and it's very expensive. Another thing is I try to limit how much alcohol I consume and going out to bars. Obviously, if you're young, you want to go out and have fun. But when you think about it, alcohol is literally poison for us, so it's not only financially good to cut back a little bit, but also physical and mental health, not the worst thing. This next thing I try not to spend much money on is subscription services. So this can be for apps, like video streaming. If you want to have one streaming service at a time, I think that's great for the one that you are currently watching a show on. And I also got rid of my Amazon Prime account around December-ish. I just did this personally because I think Amazon makes majority of its money on Prime memberships, and I kind of told myself, I was like, okay, if I'm not willing to go into a store near me, do I really need that thing? Now, I am from a smaller, more rural area, so we don't have a lot of things, so I will still order from Amazon occasionally, and I don't think it's about being perfect, but I just feel better knowing that I am not paying Amazon a monthly fee. This next one is unnecessary dining out. This is kind of more specifically if you're just out and about and you need food and you just didn't plan ahead. So if you're always buying lunch at work, you know you're going to be at work, pack a lunch, or at school, on campus. If you want to dine out and you want to try something, you want to get some food that you want to try, I think that's great. But I think if it's a daily habit, that eats up so much of your money. This next one is also food related, unnecessary groceries. I think it's really helpful to plan your meals and snacks for the week, make a list, and try to limit how much you buy outside of that. Groceries are a really big part of our budget, and if those get overinflated, it can really do some damage. And I think a lot of us justify it because groceries are a necessity, but not everything at the grocery store is a necessity. And also, this will help reduce food waste, so you'll be more environmentally friendly as well. This next thing I don't buy that I used to are cotton rounds or single-use makeup wipes. So now I just have these bigger reusable ones that I use to take off my makeup, and there's like 20 that came with it or something, and then I just throw it in the washer once they're dirty and then they're good to go. So I don't have to buy those every month, and again, better for the planet. This next thing I don't spend money on is an expensive car payment. If you're not able to buy a vehicle in cash, that's 100% understandable. I couldn't buy a nice car in cash, but if you are taking on a car payment, I think it's really important to consider what is within your means, and don't go broke trying to have a nice flashy car. Get you something safe, reliable, and that's all that really matters. I think there's so many people that want a really nice car and they get it and they have that payment, and then later on they regret it and they are kind of tied into this monthly payment for like a few years. Next thing I don't buy is cheap or bad quality jewelry and clothing, or a lot of things that get called a dupe. And this is because a lot of the times these are plastic clothing that are terrible quality, will get wrecked after a few washes, they won't last you, they're going to end up in the landfill. Now, I'm not saying you have to buy the most expensive jewelry or clothing, but I do think if you're going to buy something, buy it once and buy it good, rather than buying the cheap thing that gets trashed, buying another cheap thing that gets trashed, buying another cheap thing, and then finally eventually buying the thing you actually wanted. This next thing I don't spend money on anymore is daily coffees out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you cut out getting coffee out, you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to be able to finally afford a home, because that's not the truth. I think a lot of us really rebel against the idea of cutting out our coffee shop coffees because we've been kind of fed that narrative, and it gets kind of like, okay, no, I'm not going to be suddenly rich if I cut out my coffee, but they are really expensive. I do still love going for coffee. Even tomorrow, I'm meeting up with a friend at a coffee shop. I'm going to get coffee out. I love it. I love coffee. And if that's a part of your budget that you do allow yourself to splurge on, that's totally fine. In high school, when I first got my license, when I was 16, I think I spent almost all my money literally getting iced coffee from Tim Hortons. And I would go multiple times a day. So no, it's not gonna break your financial situation, but it does add up. And you can make coffee at home that tastes really good. This next thing that I don't spend money on is any product that I need to replace an old product with before the old product runs out. I'm an anxious girl, so sometimes I feel like I need to stock up so I have something before the original one runs out so that I don't have to go without that item. Toothpaste, deodorant, lotion. So now I try to wait until I'm actually out of the product to buy something new. Of course, if it's like a hygiene product like toothpaste or deodorant, I buy it a little early so that I literally don't have to go without it. But if I have like a third of my lotion left, I don't need to buy a new one yet. I'll be fine. I can wait. It ends up being wasteful because then I'm so excited to try the new product that I just start using that. And then I have all these like half empty things and you're wasting your money buying things more often than you need to. Now this next thing I don't spend money on, and it's gonna sound weird, is being overly generous. I think generosity is really great and I still like to be generous. I think that's one of my key values that I try to live life by. I think in the past I would go out for dinner with like 4 friends and I thought being a friend meant I had to offer to buy everyone's dinner, and of course that is nice, and I think you can do smaller acts of generosity and people really appreciate it. I know I don't expect my friends to pay for all the dinners we go to or anything like that, and it definitely stems from a people pleaser mindset and wanting people to like me, but I'm really trying to notice that when it comes up. I think a lot of people get like this when they're drinking. They're like, shots for everyone or anything like that. So this is a hard one, but I'm really trying to work on this one still. The next thing I don't spend money on is anything designer. Maybe if one day I'm really rich, maybe I'll buy something. But to me, I don't really see the appeal of it currently. Of course, people can change. But again, I kind of think this goes along with the don't go broke trying to look rich thing. The next thing I don't spend money on is any afterpay or buy now, pay later services. And I know people do. And if you are there, there's no shame in that. But if you are not in that situation currently, if you can't afford it now, please do not buy it. Sephora, Aritzia, you probably don't need to be doing that. And then you're just gonna have all these payments that you have to keep up with, and then you're spending more money and you don't even have any money to keep at the end of it. And I think it's a good practice to learn how to save up for things you want. The next thing I don't spend my money on is a new iPhone every year or the newest technology. I bought one iPhone when I was 17, and then I just bought another one 6 months ago because my other one was literally like freezing and not working. This is another way to be a little bit more environmentally friendly. If you have a perfectly good phone, it's working. You don't really need a new one. The next thing I used to spend my money on, but I'm trying not to now, is as many physical books. So I mentioned I really like reading. I do have a Kindle, so I'm actively trying to read more of my books on my Kindle just to save money and again be less wasteful. So I will buy physical books that I think I'll reread again in the future, or if I just really want it on my bookshelf. I used to buy a physical copy of every single book I read, and sometimes they just end up sitting there. That's a lot of money and it's a waste of paper. The next thing I don't really spend much money on is bread. This might seem kind of random, but I actually like to bake sourdough bread. I'm hoping to make some videos on my channel about that actually. But I make bread homemade, and a lot of people can. If you are someone that likes baking, try making any snack or some items homemade and you'll save a bit more money, and it's a fun hobby. Another thing I don't spend money on is frequent luxurious vacations. Well, I do think travel is a really great way to spend your money if that's something you like to spend your money on. Myself personally, I'm excited to travel in the future a bit more than I am currently. However, right now I just know I'm not in the position where I want to be spending that kind of money on super luxurious trips, because trips are a really big expense. And if you have a job where you don't get paid time off, that's another thing to consider, is not only how much money you're spending on the vacation, but also how much money you're losing out on making. Again, I think traveling is a really great way to spend your money if you want to. So this is not me saying don't travel, but travel within your means. The next thing I try my best to not spend too much money on is expensive entertainment options or activities. So I really like to try and get outside, do something free or cheaper. Of course, from time to time, I will spend money on a ticket for something, but I think the world is so beautiful and it can literally be your playground, or you can do like a date night in, something like that. Spending a lot of money doesn't always equate to a good time. Now, this next one I try to no longer spend money on is too much makeup. So I obviously buy makeup, But if you were like me and watched 2016 beauty YouTubers all the time, you probably have way more makeup than you can even keep up with. Like in the fall time, I think I was like, okay, I have so much makeup, I literally don't need to buy anything. It's like, I'm not gonna buy a makeup item unless I literally run out of all other options that I can use. And I haven't spent anything on makeup since then. Do you know how much money I used to spend on makeup? I've probably saved hundreds of dollars, and that is so sad, but it's true. I still love doing my makeup. I think it's really fun, but I was kind of like, okay, I have enough. We don't need any more. And it's been really nice to not have as much clutter too, and really fully using up items. If you want to do this, I highly recommend looking at Project Pan, like on TikTok or anything. It's basically encouraging using up all your products. Awesome, so that was my video talking about 25 things I no longer spend money on. If you enjoyed this and would like to see any other personal finance content, please subscribe. Again, I make videos on other topics as well, like student life, grad school prep, cozy hobbies, spending time outdoors, sourdough, organization. So if any of that interests you, please subscribe and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.